Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and this is going to be an awesome Warhammer 2 battle, a big one between myself and Indie Pride. I am here with the High Elves in the subterranean passages of the Skaven realm. This is kind of like a settlement battle, or an unfortified settlement battle where you get some scenery in the background, but you don't actually get to interact with it. But nonetheless, the map is really interesting because it has all kinds of little features to it. Stalagmites here, a chasm in the center, a marsh, so makes for very interesting terrain. In any case, I'm going to put this on slow motion so we can go a little bit over the army composition that's getting underway. So Indie Pride has decided to go with a Clan Pestilence army here, lots of plague type units. So he has 2 plague claw catapults on that flank, another 2 on this flank, a huge line of Skaven slaves right up through the center, growling and hissing at me, the sounds reverberating off the chamber walls. In the center, he's then going to have his Plague Monk Corps. I should put this on play, I suppose. There's the Plague Monk Corps moving forward. Backing that up, he's interspersed some Storm Vermin with Halberds in the center, as well as some Censer Bears, more Plague Monks. And yeah, in the very rear, he has 2 of these Warp Fire Throwers with relatively big crews. These guys are great against infantry and armored blobs. So he's waddling forward. Myself, I've gone for a bit of an interesting position. You'll always see me deploy in kind of non-standard ways. So in my case, I've split up my forces rather handily. So my main force is over on the left, a little bit is on the right. What I wanted to do is kind of kite out a fight. So the main force on the left is going to be held down by 2 of these Eagle Claw bolt throwers. These guys can switch between kind of focus fire or scatter fire. So I'm going to be turning on scatter fire to hit those infantry blobs. And then I back that up with a fair amount of archers, 3 heading left, 1 in the center. And then I have some sword masters of Hoeth, 3 of those to back that up. And then a fair amount of spearmen scattered around. So they're deployed here. Another one guarding these artillery crew. I have 3 of the Phoenix Guard. You can see them here, and they're going to be held as late game reserves. Put this on play as they come forward looking really awesome, and I'm going to need them against some of the Skaven monsters. On the right hand side, this is going to be my delaying force, and so what I've decided to do is pull up with a single noble here and a noble on the left, and then I've got a couple of my very cheap spearmen in the front and 2 archers to back that up. So my main goal with these guys is I figured Indy would bring artillery. The High Elves don't necessarily have the best artillery to counter that. They have good bows and good range, so that's what I'm going to try and take advantage of. But what I was trying to do was just bait out shots with my cheap guys. So what you're going to be seeing me do is doing a lot of this back and forth with my spearman units, making him waste as many shots as possible. And what I was hoping to do is kind of run out the clock in terms of his artillery. And then meanwhile, I have a couple units. So 2 of the Phoenixes moving forward, the Flamespire and the Frost Phoenix. And their goal is going to be, while Indie Pride is firing away, they're just going to come around and kite and see if I can't scare off some of his artillery. So I'm going to be doing just that. I don't want to charge into here because I will get absolutely murdered if I do. I'm just going to fly over and start dropping some nukes on his units. Flamespire does have 10 drops I can get off. And you really do want to make sure that you're popping that as much as possible. You can see me popping it multiple times. Lord Skrulk is going to start to Liber Bubicanus. Yeah, so he's going to start to drain my health. He's doing a lot of damage. So I did a little bit of damage, but mostly against Skaven slaves, and mostly disrupted his force, and it's making his catapults reposition. But this is doing a lot of damage against my guy. Luckily, I did bring in Teclis. So actually, I forgot to cover him. He's actually in the center here. So I did bring Regrowth, so he can. He's been called to the battlefield here to get some healing on. So he's going to be positioning himself on that front. I also have some Dragon Princes, which I haven't shown. These guys are also going to be tried to save them for late game, as well as some just basic Silver Helms. But anyways, now I'm going to start circling around Indy. My noble's in here. I notice he has no range besides catapults, and he is. You know, I would welcome him to fire catapults at me if he wants. It's not going to do anything to the noble. So the noble is just kind of going around and kiting. I'm moving up with my spearmen, and every time I see shots incoming, I'm going to reposition. That's going to mess with the targeting ability of his catapults. But nonetheless, they're going to be pretty accurate, especially as my guys move out here into the light. But actually, some of those shots, a fair amount of them just trailing. You know, a kill here and there, but I'm pretty happy with how I'm trading there. yeah, pretty healthy blobs, and anything he does hit is going to be the spearman. Meanwhile, he's used about, I don't know, I would say 10-15% of his ammo, so a little bit more kiting, and I can start to pull up with some of my sword masters and my elite units without fear. And then my goal is to get him to expend all his ammo on cheap units and then pick him apart with archers. If Indy wants to charge me at that point, I can just pull back and just continue to kite him, and especially with his Eagle Claw bolt throwers, move them in and start to deal damage. And it's working decently. Indy's going to accept kind of this state of affairs, deciding to fire all his artillery ammo, figuring that he'll get an advantage from that. And when I do have a little bit of a micro-lapse, it will go his way. At the same time, I'm just going to position here with the Flame Spire and threaten his guys, fly overhead, threaten a bomb, do all kinds of stuff. But I'm waiting to get Techless in to be able to heal my guy up. What I'm noticing is actually, okay, now that I'm looking at his force a little closer, I know that I want to take out something. So what I want to take out is probably going to be his warp fire throwers. These guys are going to be very important. And so I'm going to move my guys over here on the flank to try and threaten them, start to pull up with some archers, and especially this noble, I want to really hit these Skaven spears. Doing a little bit of juking in the background. But anyways, I want to come back and hit these spears. So these Skaven spears here, these Skaven slaves, are throwaway units, and what I figured I can do is get a noble in here, and you're kind of in an interesting position when you engage with really cheap crap troops. Indy doesn't necessarily think he needs to throw too much into this fight. Myself, I don't need to throw too much into this fight, so I'm hoping to get in, land a couple easy strikes against the Skaven spears, and then get out. And if he is going to try and engage with more units, I'm just drawing his guys out of position. What I'm trying to do is pull him a couple guys out, get them away, and now he's going to come into position into range of my archers as well as my Eagle Claw. And now I can focus fire on this blob and hopefully take them apart piecemeal. And he realizes that that's the trap I'm trying to set, and he pulls on out of there, and he's going to retarget against my guys in the center, knowing that he has to take out my archers. But anyway, the pressure is on. I've got my archers on either flank, and then over here I'm going to pop regrowth on the Flamefire Sphenix, and it is going to happily absorb a lot of health and get back up to full health there. Yeah, slowly picking away at his front lines. Let's take a look at the archers here. Appreciate some of the reload animations that are actually on these archers. Actually, let's go ahead and get a nice zoom, just because the archer blobs look absolutely glorious. There you go, and you can see I'm choosing my targets. Instead of shooting the slaves, I'm going to shoot the plague monks. Same thing is happening on this side. Just a noble here to ward off any fodder infantry, and then my bows to continue firing. Now they've taken a lot of damage from his artillery. The artillery is still having a lot of ammo, so perhaps I misestimated how much ammo they would have had. Although some of them are starting to get down to you know, quarter ammo. And then here you go. On this front, it seems like things are going decently. I'm getting some charge off on his Skaven spears, and in the back, I've got my Frostheart Phoenix. Gonna charge right into his warp fire throwers, disrupt them a little bit. On the front, there you go. I broke one of his Skaven's slave spears. Not that big of an accomplishment, but hey, if I can strip away his defenses, it means my later charges are gonna be that much more effective. In the center, I'm gonna come in with one of my nobles and hit his Skaven spears. I'm going to take almost no HP damage from this. Meanwhile, the support of my archers is just going to melt these guys around here. And like I said, I'm just melting away the defenses in front of his catapults. Meanwhile, my own Eagle Claw bolt throwers, let's take a look at these guys, are moving into range, unopposed by the artillery, because those are firing at other guys. And they're going to shoot into the blob of his guys, again, trying to target plague monks and other high-value units. Now in the back, I pulled out my Frostheart, and he came back over here, still at high health, and I'm just chewing away at now the Plague Monks, backing up, basically using the Noble as my anvil. The problem here is we're going to have a Plague Priest on his giant mount here that looks glorious in its animation, and it actually is pretty powerful. It's a little hard to take down. I would love to focus fire it, so I might try and do that soon. But meanwhile, I'm just firing with my artillery, or sorry, my archers into this blob, pulling out the Flame Spire, and just biding my time. And here comes a nice change. So here come warp fire throwers. They're going to fire into this mix, and I'm going to pull out in this engagement. It's not a fight I need to take. I've got my artillery firing in, and now I just want to clobber his guys. This is going to be some very valuable forces, and I've got them right within range of my archers, within range of my artillery, so no need to engage with my infantry. Seems to be working fairly well. My lord is still, or sorry, one of my nobles is still caught here. And then another unit of storm vermin has been thrown in. My noble very happy, but the archers here, out of range of his artillery, have been firing away happily into this blob. You know, I'm going to try and sneak some spears, perhaps to snipe his guys. I'm going to pull up with my dragon princes. This is going to be a pretty critical moment. What I'm thinking at this point in time is, hey, Indy's artillery is pulled out a bit on this side, and look at the center. If I can come in with some artillery, or sorry, with some cavalry, and land a strike here, and a quick strike here, I can strip out his guys, and then pull out, and then kite him to death. I even have some spears that made their way into the center to hold his main blob back. So that's why I'm activating these dragon princes early on. Indy's going to be quick on his response, however, and he's going to start targeting them with his catapults. You know, over here, my guys have continued to engage. Plague monks are down to really low health. The frost heart is in here trying to save my noble, but my noble is going out. I'm going to pop a flock of doom as well. Really get some nice damage on, and another spell also coming through here, burning through these guys, so a lot of damage being put on. So I'm pretty happy with this piecemeal engagement. I'm going to get a big collapse on a lot of his guys there. Plus the artillery support really helping to cleave through this. So I'm digesting little chunks of Indy's force. He still has a lot of elite guys, but so far I've been pretty happy to deal with this. And then my Flamespire is going to be dedicated to hitting some of his cheap guys around in the back. Although his warp fire throwers are still at pretty good health, so I'll have to be wary about that. But anyway, here comes my cavalry moving up. I've got his units here tied down, and now I'm going to try and push forward. However, just as I'm skirting around, his units are going to react and engage. So they know that this is a big threat coming after them. A lot of these dragon princes. And on the retreat, ooh, they're going to hit by a couple big shots from his artillery. So I didn't quite have the damage done that I wanted to. And in pushing up through here, I'm taking a lot of damage myself. So I'm going to move around a little bit. And what I want to do is maybe reinforce this side. And I spot a nice big target. These warp fire throwers. Unsupported, I want to charge into these. He doesn't have much sensor bears to back them up. Indy realizes this, and I can fire into them and absolutely destroy one of them. And so that's what I'm hoping to do with my Silver Helms and other units, is crack through this. If I can punch through this, I can split his army, destroy this piecemeal, and then collapse in on the center. However, the supporting fire of those artillery pieces is going to be pretty devastating. And it looks like Indy's going to recruit some plague monks, and just as my guys are caught here, warp fire throwers turn around, and his artillery is also going to fire into this. So my dragon princes and other units here, oh god, this is not the move for them. So all of a sudden, some of them are going to start to beat back the retreat. So they were caught in a really bad position, going to be absolutely wrecked by that artillery. So that was one of the biggest wastes of my forces. I should have saved them later, but I spotted a juicy opportunity and really should have neutralized his catapults. And you can see his catapults were almost at low health, so my strategy of kiting them was working pretty well. If I had just waited a little bit longer, he would have had no response to cavalry roving around. He has no ammo left on any of his artillery, so that was a very poorly timed move. At this point, I have the skirmishing advantage. So what I need to do is disengage and slowly piecemeal him. Keep my cavalry. Should have just stationed them, waited till he was out of ammo, and then positioned them here and kited. Anything that gets too close to my archers, charge right into them with my cavalry. Unfortunately, that missed timing is going to cost me. So now I'm in the kind of panic retreat mode, and Indy's going to pursue. I still do have some units in the rear that I can start to pull up. Phoenix Guard, Sword Masters of Hoeth, lots of reinforcements that are pretty high health that can come into the fight. However, the Hell Pit Abomination here is going to be pretty problematic. He's going to be warded off, doesn't want to engage just yet, knowing that I have a lot of support coming in. So I'm going to fire into his guys, shooting his Plague Monks, casting a net on this Plague Priest with Teclis. And what I'm going to have to do is heal up on my guys. I was very close to dying, so I'm going to get another spell here to try and heal me up. Same thing with my Frostheart. I'm going to try and get it back up to speed. Meanwhile, my Flamespire in the back is tanking a lot of damage, distracting forces. Over here, this was going to be always my kiting force. So my noble was still fighting these guys. And what I can do with 2 archer units with nothing to shoot at them, just kite this endlessly. So that's going to take care of his guys on that flank. Meanwhile, over here, another flock of doom. Really going to help kill his guys off in the center. Dragon Prince is fighting, plus the Frostheart. Doing really good stuff. The Flamespire is going to be forced to retreat. a couple gaseous shots coming after it, but it's not quite dead, so I should be able to bring it back into the fight later. I'm going to also hold by this rock, holding this position with my spearmen against plague monster bears, and using my archers very deliberately against units just to break them, and then immediately reprioritize targets to hit other blobs of units. I noticed that this blob in the center is very critical for me to knock out. Cheap troops, but if I can knock them out, then he starts to lose a lot of his functionality to his force. The main problem for me, however, is this Hell Pit Abomination. This thing, you can tie it down pretty well with spears, but yeah, against weak units like this, or at least depleted units, it will tear through your guys. So that's why I'm going to have to pull up with my Phoenix Guard. 3 of these units, it's going to be awesome to pull in. And then my archers are pulling back. Not much for them to do here. My noble is seen off, and these guys are going to redeploy to fight in the center. Anyways, over here, I'm going to pull back and just play a little bit of stagger defense. Dragon Prince is still alive. Gonna be charging in here, and my guys, my high elves, defending in the light across the swamp. So a pretty cinematic little engagement here. Lots of archers still alive. I have tons of ammo. And then I'm going to cast this spell here. Burn right on through this little cluster. And why I did that was to save my princes. Burned a lot of these guys. Yeah, it was Storm Vermin's Skaven Spears. Not that great of a trade. But you'll notice there aren't that many infantry blobs left. Speaking of blobs, though, Indy does have a bit of a hero and monstrous unit blob going on here with the Plague Priest and the Abomination. It's going to tear through my guys. I can try and fire into it, but at this point, my Eagle Claw bolt throwers are pretty much out of ammo, and so I'm forced to fire with just these basic archers. Don't have too much damage to it, but it is picking away at this Plague Priest. Indy's gonna pull back here, try and get some damage resistance and pull out to the safety of his guys. Meanwhile, you have Lord Skrulk, who's in here, trying to help his forces out. Gonna get, oh god, summoning a guys right on my Swordmaster. That's gonna be pretty punishing. But Archer is here doing a fair amount of damage. Meanwhile, I'm gonna come in with my Swordmasters here and try and beat back the center. We're gonna have a big accumulation of troops, and so that's where the Phoenix Guard are gonna be used to plug some of these gaps. One of them deployed on the right to hold that down, and just allowing my archers to fire away. Swordmasters here, Rod of Corruption, taking a fair amount of damage. But meanwhile, the Archer Support doing a good job taking out his Warp Fire Throwers. Those are critical units. And meanwhile, in the back, I did have some guys come back, some Spearmen, plus my Noble here, cleaning up these Catapult crews. And my Archers are going to come back to help on this flank to hit these guys. I'm going to pull back with my Phoenix Guard. This is a blob of kind of cheap, useless units. And I'm just going to pull back, continue to fire away, and just kite. So on this front, I'm feeling pretty happy. The main problem I have here is Teclis is down to 935 health. Meanwhile, Lord Skrulk is pretty high health, and that Abomination is also at full health. So I have to be very, very careful here. Another unit is going to be summoned here of Clan Rats. Going to be charging into my Swordsmasters, but I should be okay here. The main problem is this blob here. Oh my god, and is that another summon? No. Okay. But anyways, coming into the light are going to be all the rat swarms. I'm going to pull back with my Phoenix Guard. The reason for that is I just want him to come to my terms. And another reason is also I have this flank held down by archers. They can just fire away at his units. And meanwhile, these guys are out of ammo. I'm going to cast a Flock of Doom here on a ton of units, getting really good value here, and that's going to help to get them really close to shattering. And that's why I'm pulling back on my guys, because I know I still have some Winds of Magic left and some archers, so I'm just going to kite. And here comes a big spell here. Didn't quite get the angle right, but it does cleave through his Plague Monks and hits the unit in the black. In the back. So that was pretty good. Could have gotten a better angle, but I got a bit impetuous with it. Meanwhile, here this blob is, well, blobbing up, allowing my archers to fire into it. And I'm just going to hold in the rear. This Hell Pit Abomination is going to be pretty bad. It tried to go after Teclis, and it's now going to come after my Phoenix Guard, charging right into it, crashing through the water here. This is really crazy stuff. Cinematics in this are just amazing. My guys should be able to deal with it okay, although more guys are going to be closing in on the rear of my forces, and this is going to be really critical. Indy Pride pops a giant spell. I can't remember exactly what this one is called, but I have Phoenix Guard that were beating up his Plague Monks plus Teclis. This was going my way, and if I could have cleaved through this, I could have cut through a lot of his elite units, but with this big, nasty Skaven, look at that. That is crazy shit. And it's going to do so much damage to my Phoenix Guard here. You can see them dropping health ridiculously quick, debuffing a bunch of guys. So that is terrible stuff for me. And leaves me with almost nothing on this flank. So Indy single-handedly turned the tide with Lord Skrulk there, buffing up his guys. Teclis pulled out of the fight, luckily, but he's really struggling here. I'm going to try and come in against this Hell Pit Abomination with my Spearmen. Archers still have some ammo. They're going to be firing into this blob, trying to shore up my guys. In the rear, I'm coming in with some Swordmasters and my reinforcements in the back, trying to break some of his Skaven spears in the back. Archer is still uncontested here. Can perhaps shatter this little blob, so I still have some fight in me. The main problem is going to be the Hell Pit Abomination. And also this Plague Priest. Meanwhile, here comes Teclis. I'm getting debuffed like crazy. And so he's going to come and try and shatter these little blobs to free up my infantry. Phoenix Guard are going to be key to keep alive. I'm trying to wrap up the rear here, so Teclis is going to be bouncing back and forth. And it does help to shatter these Skaven slaves. That's going to save another Swordmaster of Hoeth, so then I can turn in on this force, and then finally perhaps collapse in on that Hell Pit. Although he does get a nasty spell off here against my Phoenix Guard, knocking them on their ass. I was thinking of charging in there with Teclis, but this thing can ram your lords, and I was worried about how much damage I could put on, so instead I'm going to charge in with my Noble after it. Meanwhile, on the center, I'm having a hard time tying down this Abomination. Health is going down, yeah, with a lot of stuff against me and being very tired, it's just not going my way on that front. A lot of my guys are starting to collapse, and all of a sudden, I get a chain rout. So anyways, that was a super intense fight. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Really interesting battlefield that I played kind of differently than you would have expected. I mean, a lot of times with these big battles, you just charge right in and get a big brawl, but I really liked playing the scenarios, doing a little bit of early kiting, firing, drawing back. And I think I did take a lot of unnecessary losses early on in the fight, and that'll probably be the main critique in the battle, but I think it was worth it. And I think the only thing I did wrong in this battle, well, the main thing I did wrong in the battle is I didn't commit to that strategy. So what I mean by that is a lot of these catapults were down to low health. I should have kept a lot of my high value units out of range the entire time. That includes my cavalry. Waited till they're out of ammo, and then played the kiting game against his guys, draw out. And if I had been able to get to that stage with my archers firing away at his guys, with some elite dragon princes left to run over his infantry who were pursuing them, game over. So that was this, if we can zoom in on that, yeah, this is where the battle changed for me, right here. Cavalry got stuck and just destroyed by the last couple volleys of the artillery. That sealed the deal. But yeah, that's it for this battle. We can end the replay and take a look at some of the final stats here. Let me see, 140 or 1,500 deployed, which is a lot for High Elves. You don't expect that much in terms of units for the High Elves, but that's because, like I said, I wanted to throw a lot of cannon fodder at his artillery, and so that's why you saw a lot of spearmen and a lot of archers. In terms of losses, I took a lot of losses. Only 383 men. He had 961, but that's coming from a total of 2,300. So yeah, I almost matched Skaven pound for pound, which, you know, I think if I had to maybe charged in, it would have been maybe negating some of his artillery damage potential. But at the same time, I kind of had a weak line, and I wanted to commit to something else, strategy-wise. Let's see how I dealt with this battle, anyways, committing to the strategy as I did. So in terms of the nobles, I think they did pretty good, committing as they did, cleaning up a couple units early on. Spearmen here were eating a lot of volleys, but then after, you could see the elite guys that I protected. Swordmasters doing really good. Even the archers, spamming these guys, they're about 400, 500 gold. And they still got a lot of kills, 48, 77, 64, 85 with 2 chevrons, really good stuff. So, you know, feel free to spam these guys and just do some kiting, even against Skaven. As long as you have some support nearby, man, they can really pick apart an army like that. But yeah, you can see here, Dragon Princes, that cost a lot, only 11 and 36 kills. That is just not good. So like I said, that was the pivotal moment for me. Meanwhile, my other units, the Phoenix is doing okay. Probably should have saved them a little bit later, and the Flamespire could have used a little bit better. It does have 10 bombardments that I can do. I only got off 4 or 5. I should have just kept dropping. Literally, what I think you should do is, if there's no anti-air, hover over the enemy's most elite or costly units and just drop half your payload on one, move on to the next, and drop the other half payload. I mean, that's how you get the most value, and then use this thing for hammer and anvils. But yeah, that's a wasted opportunity, wasted damage right there, and that would have paid off in the end game. In terms of Indy's forces, lots of kills with Lord Skrulk, mostly against the Phoenix Guard at the end with that big spell. that kill my guys. The Plague Monk's doing okay, holding up. They traded pretty decently. Plague Monk Sensor Bear is doing pretty good as infantry, but most of the killing here was done by his catapults. So anyways, that was kind of an interesting take on a battle. Again, like the mechanics, the balance seems pretty good right now. And yeah, I'm eager to see more as the game comes out and see what strategies players adapt to. That's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.